So last year, I was lucky enough to shoot a documentary across the country here in Tanzania. And the producers proposed I use the SONY FX9 and the SONY FX6. But because I am not so much in love with these two cameras, or Sony at all, I said, why don't I use these Red Gemini, or we could get also the Alexa Mini. And I went beyond and proposed to use my Swiss Army, the Canon C100 Mark II. Of course, they laughed at me. They said, you are kidding. This is a big project in the country and you want to use the Canon C100 Mark II. Well, so I had no choice but to go on and use Sony. The cameras are just the tools. They don't make any magic. The magic is the hands and the person behind it. But when you are very comfortable with the camera, I think is where the magic also shines, you know. If you don't feel the camera or you're a bit insecure with it, you can So I used the FX9 and the FX6 for probably like 2 months straight, every day on set. And so I think I have few things that I like to pinpoint. What's the like more of the con and cons. I don't know if that's the case. I shouldn't name them that way, but I think it's just the overall experience of using these two cameras. Okay, things that I really hated about these two cameras. Number one is, what the hell is CineAI? Really, I spent like a full day. Really, I couldn't find so much information about this thing, and I don't know why, despite that there's a lot of Sony users in the world, particularly on YouTube, really no one really talk about it. And yes, there are videos, but I couldn't really understand. You know, you have to watch a couple of videos to get the point. Not like Red, for example, when I started using Red, I was a bit confused with the compression ratio that they use. Like if you are shooting with the Red RAW, you have different options to choose which file size you're going to use, the quality. But with Sony, CineAI is a exposure index that helps you to expose your image correctly. Let's say you are shooting now during the daylight. Probably going to use ND filters to reduce the amount of light coming to the lens, to the sensor. And you don't know when you're shooting in a Cinelog if you are exposing it correctly, because the image is flat and you probably not have proper tools to judge your image. So CineAI can help you to understand what you'll be seeing in the post when the image is like the final image of the recording files. So that's what was confusing me. Why such technology being invented just to help me with that exposure? And it stand out so much on the advertisement when I was looking at the Sony FX9 and FX6. I thought it was some sort of like the native ISO magic. It's a big word, but for me, I feel like it's just a waveform, you know, histogram, just to make it simple. But I think it does more than that with the Sony cameras, because yes, when I started using the camera, I understand the purpose of it, but it's kind of like at first very confusing. Yeah. Whatever you do with the CineAI, it doesn't affect, like doesn't really, the information doesn't get embedded in the final image, if I make sense. So, and also CineAI works in only two ISO values, the 800 and 12,800. CineAI value should not be less than the ISO value. Always they should match. Other things that I really didn't like, I never liked about Sony, is the menus. Sony is known for its crazy menus, and I think everyone knows. And luckily, the FX9 and the FX6 have almost like, the FX6 has 9 customizable buttons, and the FX9 has 10 customizable buttons. And it was really not a pain in the ass to use at the end, because I could assign those buttons in my desired style, the way I wanted it to be, without going crazy again and trying every time to navigate around the menus. So yeah, I kind of like found a way, despite that menus, they are like pages and pages, which for me was like, before I started using the camera, one of the things that really made me hate the Sonys. The other thing that I hated was the Sony Color Science. Hear me out. I was watching a lot of videos that are shot in Sony, and even tried some few files to do myself color grading, and was not always very pleasing, and I kind of like didn't like it. And with my imagination and the need that I wanted to achieve, I couldn't see that Sony will deliver what I needed to do. And it looks like Sony log files, it's like a very complex files, like you have to really dig deep to get the look that you want. And for amateur colorists like myself, it's a nightmare. I've used before, I tried before, and I always destroy the images. And it's not like Red or Canon, like you, even in your first day opening up DaVinci, you can achieve something that can be watchable, you know what I mean? There are also little minor things, for example, the audio inputs, after you remove the handles. For example, I was using a lot of the FX6 to put in the gimbal. When you remove the handle, you can lose the audio, scratch audio to the camera. Luckily, we were using the external sounds recording system, so really didn't affect me, and I don't see a problem. For a camera like this, I think they're made for that purpose. They have timecode inputs for a reason, so yeah. So things that I really loved about this camera, maybe I should change the location also. I cannot talk about love and hate but while sitting in the same spot. So first thing first, things that I like the most about these two cameras, the FX9 and the FX6, is that the compact and the portability of the cameras. For example, the FX6, I was always using it on the gimbal. It fits very well, unlike my Canon C100 Mark II. It's bumpy, huge. I have a limited type of moves I can do. But the FX6, I can do pretty much every shot that you can imagine with a gimbal. And because it was so simple to mount and unmount from the gimbal, I will, most of the time, because we've been shooting the project for like 2 months, non-stop, every day, no weekends, no nothing. The only time that you rest is when we travel. And it was very easy to use the FX6 on the gimbal while the FX9 was sitting on the tripod while we do like interviews. And the FX6 was more for the bureaus. I did a lot of shots where like the subject will be talking while moving. So I mounted the FX6 on the gimbal with the timecode generator attached to it. Yeah, so the other thing is like the variety of lenses that you can use with the Sonys, like the FX6 and the FX9, which is the same mounting, and particularly the lenses that Sony has, like super high quality lenses. I had the 24 to 70, I had the 70 to 200, and the fact that I own the Canon camera up to now, and I don't have access to RF lenses, which are super expensive and beautiful at the same time. So Sony having these lenses is like having the RF version of Sony, if you know what I mean, because the lenses are very sharp, have a beautiful image. I was blown away with them, with how beautiful the image looks. It really exceeded my expectations. Should we change the scene? Let's go see the sunset. The lion eats me, please send this video to the family as reference. Or if the lion eats me, this video is not gonna get anywhere. It's not gonna be on YouTube. The dynamic range in FX9 and FX6 is amazing. I was shooting in a very harsh environment sometimes, and while the sky and the deep dark shadows, I could clearly see the image even in the small monitor. Like, I still have my skies, I still have the shadows. So I was happy. You have to know that I shot a 2 hours movie with my Canon C100 Mark II, and holding the FX6, FX9 in my hand and seeing that kind of dynamic range and the beauty of the image made me think twice about my conservatism regarding cameras, particularly the Canon C100 Mark II. I thought maybe it's time to change it. How can the world filmmakers enjoy this beauty while I'm still so behind in time and suffocated with the 10:8 resolution for my little old cameras? Don't judge me, I know I'm contradicting myself, but when it comes to spend money, it's another question. But give credit to when credit's due. Like, the camera had amazing images. Again, if these images land in the professional colorist hands, I believe they can really make magic with it. Mambo. Zema. The other thing that I love about Sony is the low light capability. That is self-explanatory. Sony, low light, what can I say about it? The other thing I loved is the ND filters. It's very smooth, the ND filters from these two cameras, and you can even tweak around these ND filters, like from 2 stops, 4 stops, 6 stops, I don't know. You could just dial in and adjust how much the transition is, and it has another magical thing, the auto NDs. So for example, if you are filming outside and you are moving inside, the ND filter just transits itself with the amazing smooth transition to give you like seamlessly transformation of the image, and it's amazing. I didn't use that much this too, but it was beautiful. Honestly, I like, how did people invent this type of stuff? And also the other thing that I really loved is the S&Q. You could just be filming a scene and you decide to push a button and bam bam, you are in slow motion. Switch it again, ta-da, you are in regular frame rates, like you are 24 frame or 30 frame. And you can also dial in and try and adjust how you want your SEQ mode to be, like regarding depending with your frame rate that you want 120, 4K, you want 6K, 60. So my conclusion, while using the FX6 and FX9, as I said, I'll do another video of another day to compare these two cameras. Overall, my thought about these two cameras is that the image are amazing. These are amazing cameras. These are cinema cameras. When they're in your hand, you have to know what you're doing. You have to understand lighting, you have to understand the dynamic range, what's the limitation of the camera to get the best image from these cameras. And as I said, again, you have to know to do color grading. If you have a professional that will be helping you to do the color grading, from there you can achieve the best of the best from these two cameras. Again, I think the choice people make choosing this type of cameras depends on the money, how much money they want to invest. Of course, they're not very expensive. The FX6, I think it's close to 5,000 USD, if I'm not mistaken, which is not a very bad price. And the FX9, I think also is close to 8, something like that. The other thing, I think people don't want to invest in Sony's because of the lenses investment. When people buy their first lens, it's EF lens, so we can't like go through that chain. We don't change instantly to another format. So Sony has its own E mounts, and Canon has EF and RF right now. There's a PL mount of these big cinema cameras. With these consumer cameras, if someone invested in EF or E mount, they stick to that until the end of time, until they buy a new camera. Changing a camera means changing the whole ecosystem. So in most cases, particularly in my case, I look at Sony, I looked at FX6 when I'm filming with my gimbal, and I could get all the shots, and I thought, why I don't have this in my kit? But I thought, the camera costs 5,000 if I go for a lens, and the lenses also, they are not cheap. My conclusion is, I don't have any conclusion. It's just, it is my comfort zone that limits me from using the Sony cameras, and I think it's the economy, the money. I don't have money to buy new type of license for Sony, and if I have the money, I will go for something else, probably like Red or more cinema Canon camera, you know what I mean. Thank you so much for watching. This has been my first video in 2 years, I think, or in 1 year. I've been so busy filming my new season of my series. I'll talk about it later in other videos. I'll try to make more videos. I love you guys.